Hey everyone, so for today's video I'm going to be doing a story time and I'm going to be telling you guys about the time that I had plastic surgery, and you're probably so surprised to hear this because I've never actually talked about this on my channel before. I've never actually wanted to. It's only been something that I've decided I wanted to talk about recently because it's always been this thing that I've been insecure about in the past, and then I've decided now that I want to tell this story to maybe help someone else out. So before you guys start trying to guess where I've actually had plastic surgery, I'm just gonna straight up tell you. So I actually had plastic surgery on my thigh about 2 years ago, I think, or was it 3 years ago? Oh, I think it was like 3 years ago now, and it was actually to remove a scar, and it was something that I was really insecure about for a really long time. So how I actually got this scar was from my baby injections. I had injections in my thighs when I was 3 months old. They're just like the standard ones that every single baby has to get, and I had a reaction to either the needle or something that was in the injection, and basically I ended up with these like cysts on my legs which basically ate away at the flesh in my leg, which sounds kind of freaky when I talk about it now, but yeah, so basically that happened on both of my legs, and one side actually burst, which was a good thing because then I didn't end up with a very deep scar. But then on the other leg, the cyst didn't burst and it kind of just like ate away at the flesh in my leg. This sounds so graphic. But anyways, the result was for me to end up with this like indentation in my leg, kind of like a dimple in my thigh. And it's just something that I've always had, obviously, because I had it when I was 3 months old. And it's been something that I've been really insecure about growing up. And it's something that people used to point out when I wore bikinis, and I just hated it. I feel like growing up as a kid, I wasn't really too bothered about it. It just was something that I had and I didn't think anything of it. But then when I hit puberty and like my body was changing and I was starting to get things like cellulite, and I don't know, I was more conscious of that stuff, I was really self-conscious about it. I remember one time I went to school and I was actually just like sitting down at a desk and some girls yelled out across the classroom, "Why does Ella have a hole in her leg?" And obviously it's not a hole, it's not that dramatic, but basically they yelled that out and it made me feel so embarrassed, and that really triggered something for me and then made me really self-conscious about it. And I would think about it all the time, and it would be to the point that like I'd have to go swimming for school and I would make up some excuse to not swim because I didn't want people to see my legs. And I don't know if any of you guys have ever been insecure about something that has got to the point where it kind of controls your life, but it's really terrible when it actually does, and I definitely had got to that point. And I feel like some of you guys are probably watching this thinking, oh my gosh, you're so dramatic, it is just a scar. But everyone has different insecurities, and that was a big insecurity of mine when I was younger. So a few years ago, I actually decided that I wanted to go and see if I could get the scar removed, since I was old enough to like pay for whatever I had to have done. So I went to a dermatologist to see if maybe they could inject the scar with some like filler to fill out the area. And then I also went to go see a bunch of plastic surgeons to see what they thought. So the dermatologist said that they couldn't really do anything because the scar was so deep that I would have to go and see a surgeon. So I actually went and had a few consultations with plastic surgeons, and I went to this one guy and he was absolutely horrible. So I went along as a 17-year-old girl with my mum to this plastic surgeon, and pretty much he said to me, yes, I can get rid of it, but also you need to have liposuction to make your body in proportion. So I was told by this plastic surgeon at 17 years old that I needed to have liposuction to make my body in proportion, which I think is the most horrific thing a man can say to a young 17-year-old girl. And I came out crying my eyes out, feeling way more insecure than I did before. And I was just in shock. In hindsight now, I realize that the guy was probably saying those things because he obviously wanted to make more money, so he wanted me to get more things done so he could make more money. But I just think that is absolutely disgusting, and I just can't believe that someone would say that to a young girl. I mean, it's one thing if you go in asking for something and you know, just asking for a specific thing, but you don't tell someone that they need to have something done when they don't ask for it. And it's not like it was a health related thing, like, oh, we have to have this done to have this done. It was just like, well, I think you'd look better if you had liposuction. So I wanted to tell you guys about that because I feel like that's a crucial thing in this whole story, because that obviously made me feel even more insecure and more self-conscious about my scar, which I really didn't need to be self-conscious about. Anyway, so I then went to another plastic surgeon and she was lovely. She was so nice and made me feel so comfortable, and she was a bit like, you don't even need to have this done. Like, honestly, you don't. She was so nice, but she said if it's something that you're insecure about, go ahead. And that's something that I believe. Like, if you really want to have something done, then that's fine, it's your own body. But she was very respectful and nice and complimentary, and she treated me right, which I really loved. So I decided to go ahead with this plastic surgeon because she was so lovely and made me feel really comfortable, and she was very honest. She told me that there was like a high chance that the surgery wouldn't work, but I was so insecure at this point that I was like, well, I'm just gonna do it anyway because any chance that maybe I could get rid of the scar would be the best. So I went ahead and did it with her, and yeah, I paid $3,000 for this surgery, $3,000 from a 17-year-old girl to go ahead and have surgery on a scar. So the procedure that they had to do was actually a fat transfusion. So they had to take some fat out of part of my thigh and inject it into the scar just to kind of fill out the area. And my surgeon said there was a chance that my body wouldn't take that fat and it would reject it, and that I would still end up with a scar. It could end up worse, it could end up slightly better, but I don't know, I was just willing to take the risk, so I did it. Another thing that they actually had to do was cut the scar away from my muscle, because my scar had attached to my muscle, because when I was young, it like had ate away that far that it was like attached to my muscle. So they had to cut that away and then like fill out with fat. I hope this isn't too graphic, I'm so sorry, but it just kind of explains it to you guys. So when I woke up, I had the bandages on my legs and I was in a bit of pain, but it wasn't too bad. Although the recovery process was a bit annoying. I had to have this bandage on my leg, which was massive, for like 2 to 3 weeks, I think it was. I can't even remember, maybe it was longer, but I just remember that it was such a pain and I couldn't sleep on that side of my body because it was so painful. But eventually I went to go and get my bandages taken off. And when I got there and she took the bandages off, we realized that the surgery didn't even work. My body had rejected the fat and it just didn't even work. It was slightly better, to be honest, but it wasn't like what I thought it would be. So I was obviously really disheartened that the surgery didn't work, and I didn't know what to do next because I'd obviously spent $3,000 on a surgery that didn't even work, and I just didn't know what to do. So really the only option was to try and learn to be comfortable with what I had, and that's been something that I've been trying to like work on for the last few years. And I feel like I'm at a point now where I honestly feel so much more comfortable and confident in my own skin, and that's why I'm making this video, because I just want to share my story with you guys, because I feel like we need to learn to embrace ourselves more. And I have nothing against plastic surgery. If you want to change something and give it a go, then that is your body and your choice. But I wanted to share my story just so people can think before they do things. So I guess I'll show you guys the scar on my leg, and you're probably thinking it's going to be something way more dramatic than it is. It's really not that bad. It kind of just looks like a dimple that you would have in your cheek, but it's in my leg. But in my head, I thought it was the worst thing ever. But I hope this is a reminder to you guys that everyone has insecurities, and just because one isn't obvious doesn't mean that they don't have them. And you might not think someone will be insecure about a certain thing, but it doesn't mean they're not insecure about it, if that makes sense. So this is something that I have become really confident with and learned to love about myself, and I've learned to just embrace it because this scar isn't going anywhere. So without further ado, I will show you my scar. You can't actually see the scar when I wear shorts because it's just above it, but I'll roll up my shorts, and as you guys can see, here is the scar. I'll kind of like turn around because from different angles you can kind of see it better. And I always wanted my leg to be like this, smooth with no scar, but that is the reality. It kind of looks a little bit like a bruise. I don't even know if on camera you can really see it that well, but yeah, this used to really control my life and I used to be so insecure about it, but it's just like a little scar that I have on my leg that makes me me. So this is what I want to share with you guys. So that is my scar. That is something that I used to be really insecure about and kind of let control my life, and I've learnt to overcome. So I hope this video kind of hit home with some of you guys and taught you something and maybe inspired you or just motivated you to become more confident in yourself and overcome your own insecurities. So if you did enjoy this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up as it really supports my channel, and subscribe if you are new, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye!